Oh, my brothers and sisters, I was going to take a few weeks off from reporting to you about disturbing trends, but alas, I couldn't sit back and just watch. Imagine, if you will, a generation of privileged, spoiled youth, for the first time ever in the free West, are demanding less freedoms than what they were born with. First up on our little cavalcade of fascist snowflakes is at Queen's University, Ontario, where Jordan Peterson was preparing to speak to people that had come to hear him. I don't think you'll find many people opposed to the idea of protesting an event or an idea. The ultimate irony is that we live in countries with such freedoms. These social justice warriors act like we live in totalitarian states with little or no rights for everyone. They are, of course, confusing the West with states whose people live under the evil ideology of Islam and Sharia law, the ones they should be protesting. But we've already conceded their rights to protest, so let's move on. Lock 'em in and burn it down, cries one SJW outside of Queens, referring, of course, to the people gathered to hear Professor Peterson talk. Were they joking? Was this a serious threat? Who knows? But it's dangerous. You see, these people protesting Peterson argue that words are violence and threaten to erase people and their very existence from whatever. But inciting literal violence is, well, just that. Do they hold the moral high ground? No need to ponder this question, as the answer is an obvious, oh hells no.
Racism is white supremacy. Yes, if you don't want to believe it, that's cool. But we know where you believe by being in that room. So that's fine, though. What do I do like undergrad students posting
In spite of the attempt to shut down free expression, the talk went on, as it should, in a free society. But look at these jerk-offs acting like barbarians from a video from inside the event. That was Queens. Now we move on to more royalty at King's College London for some actual violence. At a talk that was hosted by a libertarian group, Carl Benjamin, or better known as Sargon of Akkad, was attacked by Antifa thugs. But what is just as important as the physical violence was the shutting down the exchange of ideas. Antifa claims that Benjamin is alt-right. However, anyone who pays attention to him online knows quite well he is one of the alt-right's biggest foes. Once upon a time in a free society, the one that the regressive left wants to put an end to, but long ago in that free society, people protesting ideas or just people would do so with better ideas or better people. Now the MO is to slander your target with slurs and epithets, misguided accusations of crimes that are completely invented. The actual crime against authoritarian leftists is to dare to disagree with them. Attendees of the King's College event weren't having any of their nonsense and proceeded to show the Antifa criminals the door.
Fuck you! Don't fucking push me! Fuck you! Get the fuck out! Who the fuck are you? Cunt!
Now you see your fascists in action. There are the fascists.
Next, we see, just yesterday, protesters at a Christina Hoff Sommers talk at Lewis and Clark Law School attempted to no-platform her. According to Andy C. No, coalition of students groups, socialist black women, minority, etc., demanding known fascists Christina Hoff Sommers be no platform tomorrow at Lewis and Clark School ahead of her PSU talk. There's Christina Hoff Sommers. Protesters show up with signs, no platform for fascists. Okay, protesters are trying to shut down Sommers at Lewis and Clark Law School. And here's some video. This is what happened when Sommers tried to start her lecture.
Mic check. We choose to protest. Male supremacy. Not give it. A platform.
Protesters start singing songs against Sommers, no platform for fascists.
No platform for fascists. No platform at all. And we will fight for justice until Christina's gone.
Okay, protesters try to disrupt Sommers' lecture. They demand that she take questions now.
And then you'll see me.
Can you just answer her question if you want engagement?
I want to be able to give my piece, and then
You gave some peace, and
You're
she wants to
embarrassing
respond
our
to
law
it.
school.
you are embarrassing people.
You're embarrassing our law school and our student body.
You're embarrassing us.
You are.
She asked for engagement. Answer the student's question about what you just said.
It's fairly common to have the speech and then have the Q&A after, so this is not out of the ordinary.
Yes, it is very common for Q&A after the speech, but that's if you have manners and live in a civilized society. Protesters start singing again about no platforming fascists.
Which side are you on?
The same boring song. Activists brought in a speaker to try to drown out Sommers with music.
16, and only 26% said yes. A poll in Britain showed 8%. Now the question is, why would a movement...
In addition to protesters in the room, a crowd of demonstrators chanted outside at various points.
Your concept of victim feminism, where people run away and escape from, they run away instead of running towards their fears because triggers are real and attacks are real.
Emotional exchange when protesters accuse Sommers of approving sexual assault. That's what you just said.
So then if I was intoxicated during my sexual assault, but I was not incapacitated, does that mean it was okay for the guy to force my head into his
No,
lap?
that's different. You did not listen.
That's what you just
No,
said.
you did not. No, I said that when they are studying and asking questions, and they're not about force, but if they're asking about force, then of course we would call that assault. But if the only question is, were you intoxicated? We need to know more. That's all. We need to know that if there was force, yes. If there was incapacitation, definitely. If you were just practically blackout, yes. But if you were drunk, maybe. But we need to know more.
Sounds reasonable, Christina Hoff Sommers. And here we have a comment, a tweet. Are these law students aware that cardboard signs are not considered evidence that will hold up in court? Christina Hoff Sommers said that a noisy minority was willing to impose its will on everyone else. These are troubled times, my friend. Where did we go wrong in creating an entire generation of young people seeking to remove the very freedoms that earlier generations fought and some died for? Do they really believe they can remake the world into some postmodernist Marxist utopia with an equality of outcome? The events I just talked about were within the last few days. However, a few weeks ago, a rather intelligent and thoughtful discussion at Portland State with James Damore, Peter Boghossian, Heather Haying, and Helen Pluckrose, with the panel titled, "We Need to Talk About Diversity," and giving anyone in attendance the opportunity to ask whatever questions they wanted during Q&A, was just not enough for these intersectional regressives who sought to shut the event down. First, with a planned walkout at the beginning, vandalism to the PA system, and even during the Q&A, they tried to bully the amazing Peter Boghossian, who wasn't going to be pushed around.
You can be irritated by a lot of truths, but taking offense is a response that is rejection of reality. So men and women are different on height, they're different on muscle mass, they're different on where fat is deposited on our bodies, right? Our brains are also different. So there are some binaries.
Security. This is what happens. Oh, did they shut off the volume? Can you hear? Can everybody hear?
Really? He's a piece of shit. That is not okay. Even the women in there have been brainwashed.
Should not listen to fascism. It should not be tolerated in civil society. Nazis are not welcome in civil society.
Fuck the police! Cover the people! Thank you.
All right, well, we're going to raise our voices. The conversation's going to go on. Let me be crystal clear. Let me be crystal clear. People do not have the right to tell you what you can and cannot listen to. People do not have the right, fringe elements of society do not have the right to hold you hostage to discourse. This is a university. If we cannot have this conversation here, we can't have it anywhere. We have to be able to talk about it. No issues will solve themselves. That sort of behavior is unacceptable in civilized societies. And if that person is a student, they should be given a warning, and if they do it again, they should be expelled from the university.
So, let's be clear. It is not okay to decide who gets to talk and who doesn't. A civilized society allows a diversity of opinions, and of course I get tired of repeating this. One day, the person deciding who gets to talk may not be the ones these privileged snowflakes want if they get their way. The pendulum swings back and forth. Today, you think by calling the shots and silencing people is just fine and dandy. Tomorrow, it may very well be you that is shut down. These three utopian revolutionaries don't seem to understand that they have the freedom to ask questions, not to take over the event, and I must admit I loved how well Peter Boghossian handled their childish attempts to impose their will on those at the event.
Okay. Hi. So...
What's your name?
I'd rather not say my name because I know the tendency for people in this room to dox people. So, quite frankly, it's not that hard to find out my name.
What is that?
Really
The tendency of the people in the room?
For people to dox people, it's happened to plenty of my friends, and
don't,
specifically by people in this room,
no
like
doxing.
people behind me. But hey,
so what's your question?
We're getting into that. All right, so up with me are a couple of my comrades. We have done. Yes.
So what's your question?
Yes, I'm getting into that right now, if you'd let me finish. Alrighty, so I want to talk a little bit about diversity of thought. So
I want to end this video with a few quotes taken directly from the United Nations Universal Declaration of Human Rights. Article 18, everyone has the right to freedom of thought, conscience, and religion. Article 19, everyone has the right to freedom of opinion and expression. This right includes freedom to hold opinions without interference and to seek, receive, and impart information and ideas through any media and regardless of frontiers. Article 20, everyone has the right to freedom of peaceful assembly and association. I ask you this, what are you going to do about this? In addition to watching videos about the regressives, stand up and give voice to your desire to live in a free society. Goodbye.